This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, MLB Pro family. My name's Scott Guessford. I'm the general manager of the Oakland A's, and today I am here with Kimberly in charge of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kimberly, how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you, Scott?
Good, thank you. Anything you want to start off by talking to us about last year, how that went, and all that?
Well, we overcame a lot of injuries, but couldn't overcome the Angels. That kind of sums up the season.
Well, most people can't overcome the Angels when it comes to the World Series now, can they?
I know.
I was telling the other couple of National League guys I've talked to, going, I still have National League blood running through my veins from my time in Cincinnati. So I am hoping at some point one of you dethrones LA and Seattle for a championship.
Hopefully we can do that this year. We'll see. It'll be a tough road like it always is.
Yeah, well, you lost Bryce Harper this year. How do you think that's going to affect the team?
Well, losing the hitter who finished number 2 in the MVP voting is obviously a blow to the offense, but we still have the player who finished number 1 in the MVP voting. So, but the question is always is other people will have to pick up the slack. Maybe we could have re-signed him, but it would have wrecked our budget for this year, which didn't, go before we even reached free agency. And so that didn't sound like a good idea to me, even though I think we had him down to 5 years, not the 10 he ended up getting. But the per year value was still going to do us in, so including this year. So instead, we're going to try to fill from within. We signed Norm Raleigh. We'll see how whether he can do a bounce back season here. But otherwise, we've got some rookies who are going to try to fill in. But otherwise, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to get some time out there in spring training, and we'll see where we go from there.
Okay, well, you mentioned prospects. How does your team rank in prospects? I mean, who are your top prospects, and who are you expecting to contribute this year?
Well, I think, according to the rankings, we're somewhere in the middle teens. I don't expect any big impacts this year. Our top prospect is still a couple years away, Dante Donato. Well, maybe as early as next year for him, but it's, I'm not counting on him this year. This year, the only ones I'm thinking might really be a factor, maybe Ronnie Mauricio in the infield, though that might not be till late in the season. Is it Matt Kavanaugh, a pitcher who's now moving up to AAA? He's the most likely to get a call if he does well in the first few months. Otherwise, anyone who can fill in the bullpen, they're going to some of them will get a look this spring, like Greg Mamaro. We'll see. The bullpen's always a work in progress anyway, but we'll see if any of them step up in the spring. But we're not looking to rely on any of them really at the moment. But things will change. Injuries were a factor last year. We'll see if that happens again this time.
Well, and you got to do better than you did last year, right? One more series better.
Yeah.
How do you see your division playing out this year? Because I mean, the Dodgers were pretty tough last year. Colorado did okay.
Yep. Yeah, I expect it to go pretty much the same. I expect LA and Colorado to be right there with us all season. The Dodgers improved their rotation. I don't recall offhand if they've if they improved elsewhere across their roster, but I know they added a starting pitcher, and we'll have a full season out of McCullers, so hopefully that will balance out. But it was only 3 games I think last year between us, so it'll be close.
Good. So your expectations this year to win the West again and beat the Angels or Seattle in the World Series?
Oh yeah, it's until the Angels are eliminated, it's theirs to lose. So it's I look at it that way. But yeah, our goal is to win the division and win the World Series. That's the plan. This is our window to compete while we have a solid core of a relatively young roster. So we're at its peak. So that's the plan going forward.
I don't know if you've looked at the projected spring training stuff. The predicted standings for this year has the Angels falling to 78 wins and not even making the playoffs.
Oh, no, I had not seen that, and I don't believe it. So
I don't believe it either for a second. So
I think they said that last year too, and that obviously didn't work then either. So since they're still sitting on a bunch of money and there are a bunch of free agents out there, I expect, like last year, they'll sign a few of these guys who are holding out, and fill in the pieces. And they got obviously a great coaching staff. So yeah, I until they're eliminated, I'm not going to count them out. So
I agree with you 100%. Let's start looking at your pitching staff, your rotation. Right now, as I look at the screen, it only has 4 starting pitchers in your rotation.
Right.
Well, you're probably going to go with 5, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So how does that work out?
That's where we are at for now, pending, maybe something will turn up here in the next few weeks before spring training. Otherwise, we're currently slotting Ethan Hankins in the 5th slot. He's been in there off and on the last couple seasons. We'll see if he can get it done. If not, we have a few other options. Like I said, Kavanaugh might be ready midseason. Emilio Salazar was in the rotation last year, so we can use him as well. The top 4 are, they were our top 4 down the stretch, and they'll be the top 4 now. So I'm not worried about that. The fifth slot will fill in as we go as needed. And Hankins gets the first shot. So
okay, cool. And Ohtani, he's one of those enigmas. How do you handle that? I didn't really pay close attention last year on how did you give him a day off before and after he pitched? I mean, is your strategy going to be the same?
Yeah, because this version of Out of the Park, that's the same as last year, and so I don't know yet. I'll have to try it out during spring training to see if I can DH him the day before he pitches. Last year, I would sit him, and then he would often get used as a pinch hitter. But now we don't have pitchers hitting, so we'll have less opportunity for pitch hitters. But we will have the DH, and so if I can use him as DH on those 2 days, then we only miss his bat on the day he pitches, because until next season, because of the version of the game, he can't DH and pitch on the same day, unlike in the real world. So
yeah,
I think that's upgraded in next year's version. So
can he bat from the pitcher spot? I mean, I don't know how that works. I mean, can he just play pitcher and bat? That might be something we have to look into.
Yeah, for this season, I don't know. Last season, when he was pitching, he would bat, and that was fine. I don't know how that will work this year using the DH. I'll experiment with that during the spring and see what I can find out. Otherwise, he will likely be our DH most of the season. When he's not, we'll either rotate people or Vlad Guerrero will get some at bats there. That's the plan currently. But yeah, it depends on how the software handles the DH and his pitching schedule, because he will be pitching every fifth day. So that's still the plan.
Yeah. All right. How about your bullpen? Is it pretty much the same as last year, or are you making a little bit of tweaks in there?
We added Navarez from the Angels as a free agent in place essentially of Carosi, who went off in free agency. Otherwise, currently it's the same people. We'll see if anything changes once we get into the spring here. There are a handful of guys down in the minors who, some of them have already pitched in the majors a bit, or they've been up in spring training. We'll see if any of them have put it together. Otherwise, everyone is currently on the pitching staff at the major league level. They all were there at the end of the season last year. So
how do you normally construct your team? Is it 12 pitchers and 14 hitters, 13 and 13?
Yeah, I forget exactly what the breakdown was last year. Ohtani counts as half of each. And so it was like, 13-13 roughly last year. And I plan to go with that this year. I think it's 8 relievers and 4 starters plus Ohtani is, I think, what we're going to go with. We'll see how that plays out, at least until the postseason. We'll see how that would play. If we now with the DH, we won't be pinch hitting for a pitcher in like the 5th inning or something. So we may not have to cover the same amount of innings. So we'll see how that works.
All right. So let's turn it over to the bats now. Looking at your roster, you don't have a lineup filled out or anything. So do you have like a projected starting lineup or anything that?
Mm-hmm. The batting order will likely be similar to last year, but we, depending on the day and like if Ohtani's in there or not, things change for who's batting where. But the starting slots are basically going to be the same as last year. Hansen behind the plate, Gallo and Perez split time at first base. Vlad splits time at third base. Scott, of course, at short. Maureen at second. Daz in center field. Left field's going to be a platoon probably of Bill Harrison and Nico Horner, which is what we did part of last year. Right field is the new slot where we're going to go into the spring with Vlad out there for at least part of the time with Norm Raleigh as well. And then there'll be whoever off the bench that might get time in the outfield. We're going to look at, I think, three different rookies to see who wants to sit on the bench and play some defense in the outfield.
Okay. So how do you normally construct your lineup? It's typical. Do you have a fast guy to lead off, and then you have a good eye person, and then power?
Yeah. That's pretty much the story. Last year, Bryce hit second behind Maureen, with Scott hitting third. Probably we'll still have Scott hitting third, so I might put Ohtani in at second slot. Maureen's still going to lead off, and probably Vlad hitting fifth or fourth. And so Gallo looks like the bat that slots in fifth. He likely will get more at bats than he had last year, so we'll see how that goes. Hansen is either fifth or sixth. Daz hits seventh, and then eighth or ninth is going to be depending on who's in the outfield or at third base between Butler, Horner, Harrison. They'll be hitting eighth, ninth, Rowley.
Okay, and we've been talking with the other GMs about your philosophy is, do you let the manager pick your lineups, or do you tweak it yourself?
I don't want my manager deciding anything if I can help it. They obviously select who's, what to do with the bullpen. I can't do a whole lot about that. But yeah, I select the lineups, the hitting lineups, especially in dealing with Ohtani. I can't really let the manager try and figure that out. I learned that I think the first season I had Ohtani because I would put him in there and then he would bench him, and so it's well, I'd rather know exactly what they're going to do with Ohtani because the software wasn't really designed for a player like him at the time. So
Right.
I still handle the day-to-day lineups.
Okay. And then do you set 7-day lineups?
Usually, yeah. It depends, but usually, yeah, because usually, I'll have to rest someone or someone's injured or whatever, and so I'll have to. It's usually easiest for me to fill in the 7-day lineups instead of tweaking the main lineup and then wondering what the manager will do with it. So.
Yeah, as long as you keep your eye on those starting pitchers. I made that mistake a couple of times last year. I didn't move the starting pitcher.
Yeah, I don't put the starting pitchers in the 7-day usually. I let the rotation handle that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my big takeaways from last year. Is I learned that oops, won't make that mistake again. So we talked a little bit about your outlook for 2023. Do you see any surprises? Like last year, Detroit took a big step forward.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a team making a step forward like Detroit did last year?
I haven't looked too closely around the league yet to see who signed a bunch of people or, what might have changed on who gained or lost players. But Kansas City comes to mind as a team that might make a bit of a jump. They signed Mark Baker, who I had in Arizona early on in his career. So I know what Baker is capable of. And so that if they have enough pitching, they could be in the conversation for a big improvement, I think. Beyond them, I don't really know. Atlanta with Harper, and I think the rest of their roster is pretty intact, so they'll probably be better. Dodgers are better, as I said. So it's hard to know who those other teams are that come up out of, if not nowhere, they improve enough that they're in the playoff hunt at the end, like the Phillies were last year. It's hard to know for where that is at this point. And I haven't been looking closely enough at the AL to know. Maybe Texas, I don't know. Given that the GM there was in San Francisco for a long time, I know he knows how to put together a roster, but whether they're there yet, I don't know. Other than that, I don't know. The East, the AL East, hard to know. A lot of money out there, so you never know if that will affect anything going forward, or who has signed extra people. I know Toronto has been trying to add people in the off season, but how it puts together, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Do you have any kind of bold predictions for this upcoming year, whether it's about your team or somebody else or a player? Or...
Not really. Yeah, and I don't want to jinx anyone or call anyone out or anything either. So, it's World Series or bust for us. That's the goal. We've got more than enough talent. And the question is whether we can, hold it together against the Angels again, right? That's going to be the standard against which we measure.
I hope Matt's not listening, but game one, you put some 13th pitcher out there being the first 2 or 3 guys, and maybe they'll be scared to bat the rest of the series.
Yeah, if I could control brushback pitches, that and not just for the Angels. I mean, it's like, yeah, I grew up with some of that old school mentality. In the '70s, they were still doing some of that. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it would be a different game than it is now, for sure. But yeah, I can't imagine out of the park doing that. I guess that would because it would get out of hand, and the
Yeah.
manager wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. So
The manager get thrown out every game.
yeah.
Cool. So, anything else you want to talk about? Maybe a question I didn't ask you, or something you want to?
Let's see. Let me look at what else you. I don't know offhand. I am always, because I've been doing this, I don't know how many years now, but quite a few. I think this is my 10th year. It's always interesting internally to my organization to see, the rookies as they improve. And so I mentioned a couple of names earlier, but those are only sort of the ones at the top of the, top of the projections. I'm watching quite a few players across my organization just to see, are they coming along? Are they what I expected them to be when I drafted them? And of course, some of them are, and some of them aren't. And then there are others who I had no idea, and they put it together somewhere in the low minors and end up in the majors in a few years. Matt Hansen is one of those. He was I didn't draft him, but he was a 27th round draft pick, and I know I almost cut him somewhere back in 15, 16 or something when he was like in somewhere in like low A or wherever, but I didn't have enough catchers, so I didn't cut him. And he pulled it together, and so
Yeah.
every once in a while I see players like that. So I'm always sort of watching that in my minors to see, are there any of these guys that there aren't any that sort of really come out of absolute nowhere for me, because by the time they're at AA, I seem to know what's going on with them. But they do make movement like between rookie and single A. So I'm always sort of interested to see how that'll play out.
So that brings up another question for me: is how do you figure out your minors? Are you a one level a year type of person, or you just kind of determine that each year?
In the past, I was more, well, because I was pushing to compete. And so I think I pushed Scott and Vlad and Daz and those guys, like they weren't spending like an entire season at a level. Because I had a pretty good estimate that they would be really good. And so I moved them along. But now that players like that are like in the way at the majors, I'm not in a hurry on most of the players coming up through the minors. So I have been the last couple of seasons leaving most of them at a level, or maybe 2 levels per season, like move them up 2/3 of the way or something. I have had to move players around for injuries in the minors, like especially starting pitching, I think, is where I've had to move players up that I wasn't necessarily planning to promote. But, if the rotation is having trouble at the level higher up, then, well, who am I going to move up? It's, I'll take a chance and see if they're ready. But yeah, mostly I try not to move anyone more than, have anyone play it more than 2 levels per season anymore. I want to give them a chance to actually play, get some reps. and I'm always moving people around defensively, and so trying to figure out where they might fit at times, and so that I want to give them time. The pitching though also takes time to develop, and so if they've got 4 pitches or something, I want to make sure that they have time to develop that 4th pitch or whatever. So that can seem to take a while.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know. We'll see if because some of the relievers could move more quickly, and so. But the bullpen is still a mystery to me. It's always hard to know how to figure out what happens in a bullpen. I don't know what chemistry does there. But I have a basic plan, like I said, but there's always exceptions to that. I have promoted people who, the first 2 months they're hitting 350 or something and in single A, and it's like, well, okay. That if I expect them to hopefully be a contributor or to do better, then I will move them up. But I try not to force anyone if they're only hitting 220 or something. It's
right.
It is on a case by case basis, but I try to leave them there long enough for them to get enough innings or enough at bats or whatever it is I'm measuring on.
Okay, good. Well, usually at the end, I ask you if you want to maybe introduce yourself, tell people who you are, maybe what you do for a living. Maybe are you looking to trade a certain person or acquire somebody so the people can hear and maybe send you a message about that.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Well, I guess personally, I live in Michigan. We got 6 inches of snow today, which is a bit new. It's been a mild winter, so now it's actual winter. But I don't have anyone specifically on the trading block. But I'll be evaluating, starting now and through spring and into the season to make improvements. I don't have tremendous budget room, but there are ways to work some of that out. I'll be looking to improve the team like I did last year. The goal is to get to the series, so that may need improvements. So yeah, but there isn't there are no malcontents or whatever that I'm aware of on the roster at the moment that I'm trying to offload or bad contracts or any of that. So I'll just see what we need as we go along.
And that's a great place to be at the beginning of the year, right? You got a nice roster, your salaries are under control, you have the budget.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
it's just
that was where I was with the decision about Harper, because letting him go to free agency allowed me to extend Morales and McCullers in the offseason. I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. And so they would have been looking at, I think McCullers would have been up after the season, Morales after next season. So that extends the window a little bit at what seemed to me a reasonable salary cost. But I can't afford all of these players if they all want, big long-term deals. So it and players like Scott got a lot in arbitration. Winning the MVP, you tend to get a raise. So it even from the most cautious of arbitrator formulas, right? But I think I actually gave him a deal before that, so that it wouldn't get out of control. But that's where I'm at with the money. I still have some room to maneuver in the budget, but not a lot at this point.
okay. Well, it was great talking to you, Kimberly. I'm going to stop the record button and we can stay on and chat for a minute if you'd like.
Okay. All right, sure. Thank you for doing this.